Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm the GSkill PT, and for today what I have here is Absolver. So this is an indie game developed by a team called Slowclap, and it is using Unreal Engine 4. So this game, it is a single player and also multiplayer game that kind of resembles a little bit between For Honor and Dark Souls, but with its own artistic style. So I'm playing the game with the eye settings 1080p. I tried to reach 60 frames per second, but it was kind of only possible with the low settings, with no shadows and horrible graphics, so I don't recommend it. So pretty much in this game you need to play something between the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. Okay, pretty much with the eye settings, pretty much the settings that you are going, the frame rate, I mean, that you are going to see will be pretty much between 30s, 40s, and best case scenario 50s. The median settings provides some extra performance because the eye settings got nearly very close to dropping from 30s to below. So I'm not really sure if there are any sequences on the game where the game will be more demanding and probably the graphic card wouldn't be able to reach the 30s. But between the eye settings and the median settings, the graphics are absolutely fine, so there isn't too much difference between them. In my opinion, the biggest difference was really the shadows, but apart from that, for me it was very similar. Okay, the low settings, it's just horrible, try to avoid it at all costs, and the ultra settings, well, for me it starts to drop from the 30s, so immediately I exclude it from being one viable option for using on the game. So like I was telling you about the game Absolver, it can be played as a single player or as multiplayer. This is pretty much like Dark Souls, so you can enter in a cooperative match and try to beat the world. The game doesn't explain too much about the game itself, so like I said, it's pretty much like Dark Souls. You need to beat some bosses, and it doesn't explain too much about the stuff, just like Dark Souls. Okay, and all these environments and the way of fighting, it resembles Dark Souls, but the way that you fight and the way that you trigger some tricks kind of reminds me also of For Honor, but in a different way. Okay, so it's this is really a new type of game in my opinion. I never saw a combat system like this, and pretty much this is only melee fighting, and you can go melee fighting against another players, PvP, PvA, so it's really interesting. Anyway, I'm only going to cover the single player of this game. I'm going to fight a little bit just in order for you to see about the game. This is at the very beginning, so you can see a little bit about the game, and you can also check out the performance that I'm getting by looking to the MS Afterburner, which is all that overlay with the frame rate and graphs and stuff. Okay, so I'm using AMD Radeon Relive to record, so it usually impacts like 3 to 5 frames per second. I'm not really sure about how much it impacts now, because lately AMD Radeon Relive received some updates with optimizations, so I'm not really sure if now impacts a little bit less. But anyway, you can watch the entire video and you will not see the game going under 30s even with recording. So I think the eye settings is possibly the best option to play the game. Okay, if you want some extra frame rate, just go with the median, and if you can support the low settings, which I can't, I think the graphics are horrible in my opinion, and removing shadows really destroys a little bit the art style of the game. So for me, in between 60 frames per second or something in between, I prefer something in between in this game, because the low settings are really bad. If it wasn't that, I wouldn't have any problem to play with low. But anyway, this game plays very nicely with the frame rate between the 30s and the 60s, so I don't think there is a problem with it. You don't need kind of aim to anyone, you don't need to push, you don't need to aim for headshots or anything, you just need to fight. So I think even a lower frame rate can be very sustainable for this game. So with this, I'm going to let you enjoy a little bit of gameplay, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye. Hello boys and girls, welcome to the performance section of the video. So as you can see, with the ultra settings or maximum settings, the game kind of dropped a little bit from the 30s, just a little bit, but still I don't think that it worths it. So that's for me probably the best settings to play. It is either high settings or medium or something in between if you decide to customize. So with the high presets I got an average of 38, the minimum frame was 31, which is pretty good, while the median settings already provided an average above the 40s with the minimums around 35. So if you have kind of a lower clocked HD 7850, possibly the best option it is for going with the median settings. So like I told you, the biggest difference that I saw between the median settings and the high settings, it was really the shadows. On the median it looked pretty much pixelated and especially bad filtered. That's something that Unreal Engine games, indie games, happen to have this problem with the Unreal Engine 4, I mean. But apart from that, it was really fine. The performance was very acceptable for this type of game, so I think that is no problem. So like I told you, if you want to target 60 frames per second, the low settings is the only way to go. Anyway, it dropped 32% of the time. If you want to target 30 frames per second, high, medium, low settings, all of them were capable of doing that aside from the ultra settings. So for me, my personal recommendation is to go for the high settings. The VRAM usage on the high settings was 1.7 gigabytes of VRAM. So for the RAM usage, the game was using 4.5 gigabytes of RAM, so I should recommend it to have at least 6 gigabytes or more. It's not that 4 gigabytes couldn't run the game, but I expect it's probably you will suffer from some extra stuttering, that it's actually not good. CPU usage was incredible fine in the game, between the 30s and the 60s with the high settings, and GPU usage was always at maximum. So if you think that the frame rate with the high settings was not enough, you can always try to reduce the settings to median or customize something in between, okay? So with this concludes my performance analysis and gameplay about Absolver. Hope you did enjoy the video. If you want to support the channel, go to the description. There are tons of ways where you can help. You could be my subscriber, donate to PayPal, buy games through Kingwin through a link that I have there, which also helps. Or you can just leave a pretty nice comments to me. That's really up to you. Okay guys, so thank you a lot for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.